Hello, welcome to the Future Film Podcast.
Today we're talking about war paint and psychopaths.
Enjoy the show.
All right, I'm Michael.
I'm Ethan.
And today we are missing Kyler.
Yeah.
I believe he's at work.
What a
He
scumbag.
will, he will be editing himself and a special guest. I don't know if he wants me to mention anything about it.
We'll just leave it for him.
Yeah, we'll let him introduce. But he's going to have a special guest, somebody that has some close ties to the movie, I guess, emotionally.
Yeah.
Mentally. We can give a little sneak peek.
So today we're talking about Joker, for those who haven't picked up on the face paint and the psychopaths.
Yes. So this has been my first time to watch the Joker. I don't know about you, Ethan. I think you mentioned once before that this is your second time.
Yeah. So I'll just go ahead and just tell you guys my story with this film. Is that I actually saw this film when it came out in theaters about 2 years ago, I think. It was actually around December time, the end of 2019, so a little over a year actually. Um, but I hated this movie. I hated it so bad. The only reason why is because literally, I hated how accurate they got to the Joker, and I know this is a very stupid reason to hate this movie, but I watched it again for the second time and it wasn't as bad as I remember. But I went to go see it with a friend, and we had a great time. But I literally remember walking out of the theater and I'm like, holy cow, there are demons around me right now.
You know what? With all the sound effects and stuff going on, I couldn't imagine watching it in the movie theater. I watched it
Oh
in my
my
living room on
gosh.
my TV, and I mean that was enough for me.
It was terrible, especially because I watched in the middle of the daytime today. Before it was like around midnight, and it was like, ugh, it was just dark, and it was a very like quiet and empty room of just me and him, and it was just not fun.
Yeah, you
It
really
just
felt that movie.
I did. I remember, and just spoiler alert, I'm just gonna say it just this one time and just get it out of the way because it's still fairly a new movie. But if you haven't seen it, go see it. Stop living under a rock. And I would say this is a psycho horror film, if that's the right term to use. And literally, it was like, I think the one scene that bothered me the most, which was when we truly saw Joker in his finest, was when he was on the talk show at the end of the movie, because he was being him. He finally unlocked, or he broke through that wall. Because in the entire beginning path of the movie, he was trying to figure out who he was. Like, and he had to get off the medicine. But when he started killing people, he thought that was his identity. And as he just kind of went through it and made it more casual, which I got other things to talk about with the whole casual killing thing. um, he finally figured out who he was, and at the end of the movie, I felt the escalating thing of it. And I remember, if you go back, watch Anxiety, check out our YouTube at Red Relic Productions, or Red Relic, or whatever the heck you want to call it. Um, we made a thing called Anxiety, and when we first made this, my thing, I wanted to push what the Joker pushed, because in the end scene when um Joker's on the talk show with, what's his name, Murray, I think.
Murray, yep.
um when it was like, if you pay very close attention, this movie is very, very good with putting you in the emotional feels with what the Joker, how he's feeling. It did a great job about that. Which I wish Kyle was here because I feel like he would have so much to say about that.
Oh
but
yeah.
um but in the movie, like right when he was yelling at Murray and Murray's talking back at him, trying to make sense of the situation, and you could feel the music just building up, building up, building up, building up, and then you hear the shot, a crackle of a pistol, and right then is when I just lost it. I was like, holy cow. And I remember sitting on the edge of my seat, gritting my teeth because it was just so intense and I just couldn't handle it. Um,
I think I have to say I am envious of Joaquin Phoenix because it's not every day that you get to screen kill Robert De Niro. Like he plays the bad dude. Like when I say bad, I mean like he's hot stuff type,
Yeah.
and he's a person you don't want to mess with. Let me put it that way. And I think he just got done playing in a movie, and I think it's called The Irishman. I'm not for sure. I'm sorry if I completely botched that, Kyler. If you know, I don't know. However, he just got done playing it. It's like a mafia type movie.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, he plays like the big boss. Not the big boss, but like he works his way up in the chain in that movie, and where he's like at the end of it, he's like basically head honcho type guy.
I can honestly
So
see that. I can see how, like, I think Robert De Niro would make a great mafia leader, just because you can look at his face and how he talks, and he has a
yeah,
heavy accent and stuff. I could see it.
but no, I think in a lot of ways when it comes to film and stuff like that, and how we feel about films, I think that you and I, Ethan, are very like different in like our or like how we feel towards specific scenes because honestly,
Hmm.
the the Big Bang, I know, funny enough, not no pun intended there. The Big Bang that was my favorite part of the movie because before it got to the end, I was like, okay, how is this movie going to just wrap up?
Hmm.
Because I mean, I was like, okay, I've got 30 minutes left in this movie. Now, that's still plenty of time for them to do a lot of stuff, but I mean, they have to end it somehow because I know that there's not necessarily going to be a second part to this. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like they left it open for a second part.
I feel like they did if you wanted to start a Batman thing off of it.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you there. I feel like you could have continued on with a Batman movie from this Joker. And like you said, I do think that they captured the Joker's essence to a T. Like, no
Hmm.
joke. I really feel that like everything that they have depicted Joker to be in the past and I guess his upbringing, this is how it is. Like there's no other way to do this properly than
Hmm.
with Joaquin Phoenix. With me, and I wouldn't. You'd said that this was what you felt as a what a
A
horror something
a psychological horror,
psychological horror. Um, I
which,
will agree with you with the whole psychological thing. Obviously, that's his whole mental
well,
breaks and stuff
okay,
like
I'll take
that.
that back. I'm gonna say more a psychological suspense, like a suspense thriller movie.
Yeah, I'd say this is more on the edge of suspense versus like because
And he
thrillers and horrors they can get pretty close to each other as far as like feel.
and I think this movie, the Joker movie, has set a new tone, at least out of all the movies I've ever seen, superhero wise. I've now seen all the Batman movies. I've seen all the Marvel movies. I've seen everything, and I've never seen a movie quite like this, to where we've never seen anything quite horrific.
Yeah,
Um, and that's why I think, because now that I rewatched it, it is a good movie, and I said that since the very beginning. It is a good movie. I just didn't. I don't think I could mentally handle it, which is okay. But
I agree with you when you say that I haven't seen anything quite like this film. Um, and that's not to say that there isn't one in existence that I'm not saying that there's no film out there that can hold a light to this film because I'm sure that there are plenty out there that have the same feel and stuff like that. I think that such a big reason that we feel that way is because this is continuing off of like one of the biggest industries being DC, but even bigger than that, in my opinion, Batman. That whole
yeah.
Batman universe. Let me put it that way because there are like dark points in the Batman movies, but nothing even close to this.
And one thing that I really want to see, I want to see them make tie this into Batman one way or another.
I would
Like,
love to see that as well.
because they devoted a whole movie to the bad guy, to and then they set the stage. Joker's the reason. Bruce Wayne's parents were dead in an alleyway. Um, Joker is the reason for a lot of things. Um, and you could tie that into another movie as well. And now that you have the background, I love them to tie in Harley Quinn to all of this. I love them to tie in Bruce Wayne. I would love them to continue this because I feel like there's been so much work. They set the stage. The ball's in their court now.
They
Um,
really did set the stage because I was really shocked. I didn't think that they were really going to include anything about Batman specifically, but then when they brought in the whole parents and the kid thing and all that, I was like, "Whoa, they're actually doing something with Batman here." I thought this was supposed to be Joker oriented specifically. It really threw me for a loop, and so I was like, "Okay, are they going to continue something off of this maybe?"
and I know one thing that said. Kyler was like, which is the reason why we're really doing this pod, is that he would personally, from what I remember, throw this in with the Batman Begins story. Um,
Oh yeah, 100%.
even though it's not the exact same actor or the same characters, he was like he would see it. But the difference between this Joker versus the one, what was it? Was it the Dark Knight Rises Joker? Oh, that what the Dark or which one had Joker in it? I don't remember.
The
Dark Knight
Dark
Rises,
Knight, Dark Knight.
Dark Knight. In the Dark Knight, if you look at the Dark Knight one, he's actually funny. You
Yeah, yeah,
know,
it's the Heath Ledger version.
which I believe we talked about this before, is that the Heath Ledger Joker versus the what's his the actor of this movie,
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix, is that one focuses more on like the funny clown, um you know, evil like genius type of side. The other is more like the mental health and disability. Um, you see Joker just crippling throughout this entire movie, and he's not funny. He's not funny at all. Um, and I don't know. Like I could see them being the same Joker, but I feel like a lot would have to change in like to get Joker to actually be funny.
Yeah. Um, I feel like, and I think that's because there's such different feels for movies that you can't really like. I don't mean this in like the literal sense, but I feel like you can't really compare the two Jokers just because they are meant to be so different. Like how you're saying, like you feel like one's very funny and hysterical, and the other one's like this is draining my mental energy type. One of those, which is that one being Joaquin Phoenix.
But I
And
can still see how they could still be the same person, because I saw a lot of the characteristics that Joaquin Phoenix had that Heath Ledger had, and that was like in the Dark Knight, you see Joker say like, "I love my job, I love my job," like he's crazy, like
yeah,
as
yeah,
he's
yeah.
I could see Joaquin Phoenix Joker being that same way, like I love my job, I love my job, you know?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like it's still got that psychopathic feel to it. But were you saying something? I feel like I cut you off there.
Oh no, no, you're good. You're good. I was just gonna say that while we're still on the topic of like the feeling of the movie, and I'm gonna go like more from like a I guess a producer standpoint here. I
Yeah.
feel like a big objective for the producer was to get you to feel like at least sympathetic for the Joker. I mean, because it goes in detail and it shows you how weak and broken in a mental state he is and all the stuff that he's gone through and why why the producer wants you to feel pushed to feel empathetic or sympathetic for him because of all the stuff that he's gone through and society's treating him like trash when they should be trying to lift him up and help him through his mental states and stuff like that. And then it's a very very dark movie as far as what's the I guess cinematography goes.
Mhm.
Whereas like I guess After Effects, let me put it that way, where they've got like the all like the blue filters, and you can really really see it. Or the first time that I saw it heavily was when uh, they were in the hospital. When he had just figured out that his mother had a stroke, and they took him to the hospital with her, and then he was sitting there with the lady that um, lives down the hall.
Mhm.
They were sitting there on the little bench inside their room, and everything was very blue and it was very gloomy. Even the sound effects, they're all gloomy, and it's all meant to give a specific feel, and they definitely portrayed that emotion. I think perfectly, because
Hmm.
you know that type of scene, it can only have one type of feel, and they nailed it.
Which that goes into more of like a very dark and like depressing feel. I remember, and this is when it gets a little personal, was at one point in my life I did go through a serious depression, which I think we are going to be doing journey videos soon, to where we are going to talk about our character and our past. Which go ahead and check that out if it's out. If not, be looking forward to it. Again, go make sure to check out our Instagram, our YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff at Red Relic Productions. Um, but I went through a dark time in my life, and it was during a summertime, and it was crazy, and it was a dark time in my life. It was the one time in my life when I felt suicidal. Um, and it was dark. It was I can't say it any other way because dark is just the best word I can do it. It's almost like I look back now and I almost can't remember. It's all just a dark blur to me. Um, and it's almost like you're dazed and you're going through the motions. And that
Yes.
is what I feel like this movie did a good job of pointing that through. Because you see the Joker in a dark room with a woman and he's smoking a cigarette and she's just trying to figure out what she needs to figure out. And what is it? It is just dark. Um and he just feels like he's going through the motions. The same thing happens every day. He goes to his crappy job. He goes home. He talks to his mom, puts her to bed, wakes up, go to his crappy job, go talk to this lady, go home, take care of his mom, like wash, rinse, repeat. It's just an endless cycle of just going through the motions. Um, and I caught that, and it made me realize about the crap that I've been through in my life. And that mental illness should be taken as a very literal thing. And that's something that people just need to be aware of because that is a very, very, very dark place. The only thing is about Joker is that he had a messed up background from the very beginning, and it was like he was almost past the point of no return if he didn't get the right help, which he didn't get the right help. The best place
Yeah.
for him would have been Arkham Asylum.
Oh, and I thank you for mentioning Arkham Asylum. Um, I always talk about the Batman games
Hmm.
whenever we're going through stuff like this, and I was sitting there watching it, and I was like, okay, this is definitely Arkham Asylum. Like, it's got to be. And I think they didn't they mention it at one point that it like that's what it is. It's Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
Okay, so uh, I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? This would have been a great point for them to have released the first game because the first game in the series is Arkham Asylum, and then it goes Arkham City and then Arkham Knight,
Hmm.
like Knight with a K.
Yeah.
And this after this movie would have been a perfect place to put the first video game in the series. It like leads up perfectly because it would have been just enough time between the movie and the game for the whole feel of the game to be perfectly set up.
Hmm.
Because me coming from a standpoint of playing the games before watching the movies for a second time, I have full comprehension of both now because the first time I watched the movies, I was really young and I was like, oh, it's just Batman. You know, you're a kid, you go see Batman. You know, it's just one of those things. But now that I'm actually sitting back and analyzing and actually absorbing information, playing the game and then watching the movies, I cannot tell you how much I feel like they nailed the scenery as well. So wherever they recorded, which I have no idea, I never did any research on that for the Joker. Wherever they recorded this was the perfect setup for the Joker and for Gotham City. Just because it has that same feel as the rest of the Batman movies, in my opinion. And
Hmm.
I got that. I got a big part of that feeling from when I guess it was the first time that in this movie the Joker killed the three men on the train, the subway.
Yep.
When he shot and killed all three of them, and he got out, and he was like, he just it really hit him as to what he had done, and he was running up the stairs and he was running through the city. When he was running through that city, I'm like, wow, this is literally the embodiment of what I've seen and played the video game stuff like that. Perfect embodiment. And this kind of leading up to a separate point when he ran into that public restroom. I'm assuming it was public restroom after
Mhm.
he killed the three men. I thought that it was just crazy. I don't know exactly what he was doing because at first I thought he was trying to dance because he said that, oh, your dancing is so good or whatever
The
earlier
interpretive
on.
dancing.
Yeah, I thought that's what he was doing. But you know what it reminded me of?
Hmm.
It reminded me of Tai Chi.
Tai
It
Chi.
looked, yeah, very, very similar. Um, and for those of you that don't know what Tai Chi is, I can't explain it very well, so don't ask me.
I
Other
was
than
literally right about to ask you, but it's okay.
the best way that I can explain it is it's like a meditative martial arts. I know that sounds weird. It's very slow and like you're trying to get like the feel of your body and nature and all your surroundings. Like it's kind of like it's like really slow dancing. I,
Yeah.
it's like I said, I'm horrible explaining these things. I've never really had to explain Tai Chi to
But
anybody.
basically, it's just a form of meditation.
Yeah, that's what I see it as, a form of meditation and self-reflection, which kind of the same thing there.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what I thought he was doing to begin with, and I was like, maybe not.
As a
Maybe it's
he's
a cross.
meditating.
Yeah, maybe like that's how he brought himself back to reality, and instead of getting lost within his head. So
I feel like when he gets lost in his head, that is him getting lost in his head, but like in a different way. Like there is a part where he's sitting and he's talking to the woman, and the woman says, "Have you been thinking any negative thoughts?" Or he was talking for her or whatever. Um, and he said, "All my thoughts are negative."
yeah.
Um, which basically was like him getting into his head. Um, but I'm gonna trail off here for a minute. One thing that really, really stuck out to me most about this movie, which a lot of people don't really pick up because he's the bad guy. You don't want to, you know, agree with him. You don't want to,
Yeah. You don't want to sympathize with them.
yeah, because he's literally terrible. He's literally the definition of terrible.
Yeah.
But just to give you the basic plot of the movie, it's just the average. No, I would not say he's average. He's just a normal person who lives in poverty in what is it, Boston? Or I guess Gotham or where
Yeah. It's Gotham is what it is.
Gotham, okay.
In the movie, it's Gotham.
In the movie it's Gotham, okay. And it's basically the tale of like it's like a distorted version of Robin Hood. You see a guy who believes he's part of the rich world, who has a father, Wayne, Mr. Wayne. What's his name? Thomas Wayne.
Which I
Um,
thought was trippy, and I have to touch on that in a little bit.
okay. Um, and he thought he was part of that. And then you learn more about his character and who he is, and he's astonished because his whole life has just been just a straight up lie. And he goes through this deep thing of trying to figure out who he is, and like I said earlier, he develops his character through the output of killing when he should be taking his meds, when he stopped taking his meds. Which I was gonna say this earlier. I'm glad I brought it up. Which is the casual killing. My favorite scene, my favorite scene is right after he just killed his mother. That's very sad, but he killed his mother, and he's in his apartment getting ready for the show, putting on makeup, doing his thing, and his two friends came, the
Oh
the
yeah,
midget and the guy, and the guy, the big guy, the only reason he was mad at him is because in Joker's head, that guy was the reason he doesn't have his job working as a clown because
he gave him the
he gave
gun.
him a gun, and then Joker lost or dropped the gun in a children's hospital and tried to play it off by standing completely still
And saying it's a
and
prop.
saying it's a prop. So he blames this guy, and the guy comes over. He grabs a pair of scissors, stabs him in the neck, beats his head consistently through a wall. This is where the horror part comes in, and this that makes you really want to throw up your lunch. Um, and you see the midget sitting in the corner, shaking, hiding for his life, and Joker is just exhausted, laying right next to the dead body with the blood splatter on the wall, laying on the floor, and said, "You know, I've always liked you. You know, you're good to go. You can leave."
Yeah, I think
Uh,
I think in that particular scene, my favorite part was where he tried to reach
He
the chain
tried to
lock.
reach for the lock and he couldn't because he's a midget.
Yeah, he couldn't, and he looks over at Arthur
He's like,
sitting on the
"Help me."
floor, and he's like, "Hey, can you come get this?" And he opens it just a little bit and then closes it back. And he's like, "You know what? I've always liked you. You're always cool." And he reaches down, bends down, and kisses him on the
Kisses him
bald
on
spot,
the bald spot of
and
his
then lets
head.
him go. And I died of laughter as he's like trying to run waddle out of the apartment.
And one thing I thought of is like, what if I was in that situation with him? What would I do?
Yeah,
And
I'd be more like the midget.
I would cry.
Yeah, I'd be really scared.
Your friend just got literally brutally murdered right in front of you, and the guy's like, and the murderer, the psychopath that killed him, says, I always liked you, kisses you, and then gets you out the door when you're locked in the house.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That is insane. Um, but all that being said, with the end of the story is that he just breaks loose, and then you finally see the Joker, which Kyler always likes to mention this, but he always forgets, and I always pay attention because I always remember first time the Joker was introduced. Not what was his name? Not Happy. What was the Joker's identity?
Oh, his real name
Um,
is Arthur.
Arthur, not Arthur, but Joker. First time he was introduced is when he was in the hospital sitting with his mom, and what was the show called? It was like a Saturday Night Live type show, like a talk show.
It's Live with Murray.
Live with Murray, and Murray's making fun of him, and he's like, "This Joker." And that's when Joker was fully introduced, where he was talked about. Um, and I just wanted to bring
Wait.
that
Well,
up.
so when you say like when he was first introduced, like,
The
do you
name
mean?
was brought to the story, where he got the title of Joker.
Okay, yeah. So I think that I kind of have to disagree with you. Not in the sense of that's when it was first said, but when it was his first identity. I feel like right there it was just like, oh, somebody's making fun of him. But when it became his identity is when he kind of finalized his character, like dyed his hair and put on all the makeup and the red suit and all that as he was going to the show. And then he's sitting there and Murray comes in and he's like, just as he's about to leave, he's like, "Hey Murray, when you introduce me, I want you to introduce me as the Joker." And they put like emphasis on those specific words, like with how they did the filming of that scene and everything, and also the sound effects. So I think that is when he actually like it embodied him,
hmm
or I guess he embodied that name.
And with this movie as a whole, I just loved it. Like now I loved it. Now that I've watched it on my phone in my room, I feel a lot safer than in a dark movie theater at midnight alone with a friend. You know?
Yeah, I feel you. Okay, so like I think I mentioned in the beginning, it's my first time watching this film, and I had heard a lot from both you and Kyler and several podcasts and just meeting up with y'all in general before, just talking about films and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I was expecting something way worse, but I think that when it comes to a sense of like horror and like bloody violence and gore and stuff like that, I'm a little bit more numb to that stuff than y'all are, because I keep trying. And Kyler, please keep this in here. Kyler's being a little girl about watching a horror film and reviewing one of those. He said that one of the only horror films that he will watch, I think, was Alien. And in my opinion, Alien is so old.
I
It's more of
love
a
horror
comedy.
movies. I
It's more of a
love
comedy
horror
now.
movies. It's a comedy, yeah.
I
It's
like, yeah,
like,
just because it's so old.
yeah, like I wish, like I would love to do horror movies, at least like one or two. I do have a tolerance for them. Just in some areas, I can't watch too many of them because I used to go on this big horror movie spree, and that really messed me up mentally.
Okay. So since Kyler's not here right now, we're gonna make this a hashtag because he made me a hashtag in the last one. Hashtag make Kyler watch a real horror movie.
Oh yeah. Okay. There we go. You know what we gotta do? We gotta make a
Can't cut this
game.
out, Kyler. Can't cut
You
this
know what?
out.
No, we're making a game right now. Okay, here's a game. Last person out of the three of us. Okay. To say suck eggs. Okay. Last person out of the three of us.
Wait, wait,
This
wait,
is
wait. No,
suck eggs.
no, you can't do that because he's got the power of editing behind him. He's gonna make us wait
Tyler,
like five
if you cut
seconds.
this out, I'm going to your apartment and I'm beating you with a baseball bat. Okay? You can cut that part out. Anywho, last person in the next 10 seconds to say suck eggs out of the three of us. Um, what is it? Has to do a punishment. That punishment is watch a horror movie. All right, timer starting now. Suck eggs, Kyler,
Seconds.
because you watching a horror
Yep.
movie.
Yeah.
We'll decide. He'll hate us for this later, but that's okay. We may not be the next one to come out, but we have to beg him and just see how it all goes. And it will be uploaded on the thing, on the Instagram, and we are going to make Kyler watch this with the
Wait,
help
wait, wait. No, no,
of you
no.
guys.
You know what? We can just negate the whole suck eggs thing, and we can just say since Kyler's at work, his punishment because he missed this
Oh, there you
is
go.
to watch the horror movie with us.
Yeah, Kyler, you missing out on a podcast because you have a life? Frick you,
Yeah,
dude.
really?
uh, so yeah, we're gonna watch a horror movie now. That's gonna be determined, and I make an executive decision that we're gonna do it, whether if it's the next one or within the next couple months. But we're gonna make this a thing. If you listen to the pod, go on Instagram and say, hey, watch a horror movie. Like just blow up our social media, send us DMs because Kyler's in charge of that, and he will see it. Um, and make sure that Kyler can watch a horror movie.
Yeah,
Um,
like whatever you can possibly find us on that you can leave a comment or you can message, just
yeah, blow up the
blow it
comments.
up. Just
Blow
like
it up.
explode everything, please.
Well, there you guys go. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Happy
Y'all
New
have
Year.
a very, very happy new year.
Happy New Year. We're a week late, at least on our time. It's the 6th. I don't know when the heck this is coming out, probably soon. Um, but yeah, I had a great time. I had a great time listening to or watching this movie. Um, so yeah, guys, I'm Ethan,
I'm Michael.
and we'll catch y'all next time. And we're gonna have Kyler go ahead and close us out. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, Kyler here. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Feature Film Podcast. I wanted to let you know about our next episode, Joker Part 2. I have a good friend named Thomas, and he's dealt with some mental health issues throughout his life. And so I thought watching this movie and then having a discussion on mental health would be a really good idea. So be on the lookout for that. Also, be on the lookout for our episode on Wonder Woman 1984. We will have a special guest on that one as well, Christian Kramer. He found us on our Letterboxd account, and we have very, very different opinions about this movie, so be on the lookout for that. Also, find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Letterboxd, and YouTube at Red Relic Productions. And if you like our podcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Thanks so much for listening. And Mike and Ethan, I hate y'all for making me watch a horror film. Roll credits.
Kyler can suck eggs because he's gonna watch a horror movie, and we're
Yes.
gonna make him watch a horror movie. Or what
Do
would
you
you
hear this, Kyler? I hope you hear this.